And we're starting the game. So there is a 60-minute countdown. Of course, you saw 60 minutes and 5 seconds there. We do add that extra bit of time to, you know, compensate for that delay. Rocker Boo, I appreciate that you hosting us. That's super awesome. We love to see supporters like you. So shout out to Rocker Boo. So we have started the game. If we look over here on the blue team, we have what is HTML. Epinence still looks confused, but I'm sure he has a super comeback ready for us that we're just not expecting at the moment. Over here on the red team, they are using that all selector, and they're targeting margin, padding, and box sizing. So they're simply resetting the margin and padding, and they're adding border box to everything. And I gotta say, I'm a fan of border box. There hasn't been a time where I didn't need it. So let me know what your thoughts are in the chat. If you would like to add, if you personally add border box to everything on your site as well. I'm gonna skip this song. It's a bit too legendary in my, for my taste. So yeah, again, there are no objectives in this game. Alright, so Epinence is working. He does have the same resets, and he does have border box on his styles as well, so it looks pretty even. Alright, so wow, it looks like as far as selectors are concerned, both blue and red, they're kind of similar. I mean, they both have page and logo set out. Epinence is kind of working ahead by targeting all the different selectors. That is a strategy that we've seen quite often here on DevWars. Is just, you know, familiarizing yourself with all of the different types of IDs and classes and such, because they are being presented with HTML content that they have never seen before. And so this is a great way of gathering your thoughts and, you know, putting everything together. However, on the red team, it looks like they're just styling as they go along. So whatever elements they see, they're just adding properties to it and values and such and such. So I mean, both methods I think are great. It just depends on your preference in this game, at least. So 3 minutes has gone by here. There's still plenty of time to make stuff happen. So very general stuff. If you look on the red team, they do have an image added, an image linked to their logo, so that's pretty cool. They have a defined width and height. It looks like they're going with the square logo, but if you refresh the website, it doesn't look like that logo is fully there yet, so he'd probably have to add a background size cover to it in order to actually, you know, fill up that container that he had set in that logo ID. Alright, let's examine a blue team here. Yeah, like I said, Epinence is just going through and making sure that, you know, all his selectors are there. It does look like he's got the majority of it. The last thing I would see that he doesn't have is probably the footer and everything that's inside of the footer. Other than that, I think he's pretty much outlined his entire project right there in his CSS. Up here at the top, you notice he is starting to add properties now over to his page ID. And he's adding width of 100% and a height of 300 pixels. So if we look at where that page ID is, it looks like that's going to be the header in this case. So he is giving it a defined height, whereas red team, they're not going with the defined height approach. They're kind of like, you know what, we'll let the content that's inside of that div give it its height dynamically. So there's different ways you could go about it. It's always interesting, I think, for, you know, newbies. If you're watching right now, if you're starting out web design and you're like, you probably have a lot of questions. This is a great way to see, like, you know, how real developers and designers code. So I mean, and I think this is a great opportunity for you to ask questions, because there's so many web developers right now in the chat that can help you. Also, I want to make note that we have awesome tools for you guys to enhance your viewing experience, such as watch red and watch blue, and even live code. Those are all commands you could type in the chat. Make sure that you are adding an exclamation point in front of all those commands in order to, you know, have that register as a command. Sorry, didn't mean to offend anybody when I pointed out noobs. I mean, we all had to start somewhere, right? It looks like some people are placing bets. I'm not sure if bets are open at the moment, but all right. So if we look on the blue team, we notice some specificity now added to the blue selector. So Epidence is targeting the div that is within the page ID. Hold up. It looks like he's being even more specific. He's saying anything that is not the logo. So essentially, he's targeting everything I'm highlighting right there. All of that is going to be have the property of display inline block and background purple. Pretty much anything that's going to be inside of the selector. Super cool use of CSS there, because we did have the HTML template somewhat vague. You do have to know, you know, a good amount of CSS to understand how you can manipulate the DOM, because for those of you who are watching, first-time viewers, for sure, one of the biggest things you should know about the rules of DevWars is that since they're using CSS, they cannot touch the HTML. So whatever HTML they see here is what it is. Like, you cannot change it. So obviously both teams have to know their stuff in order to style it the way they want it to look. So I think they've been coding for quite a while now. I think we can actually go ahead and take a look at the blue team. So we're gonna skip over here. So this is what the blue team's website looks like. So Epidence has done a good job. I'm gonna do a quick refresh. It does look like he's using some sort of placeholder image, because every single time I refresh, we do get a new image. We are using a purple background on these links right here, and I guarantee you that those links are purple temporarily. It's just generally what web designers do sometimes in order to see their divs, elements, and stuff. You know, it's totally temporary. I doubt Epidence is going to keep it at that color. But it looks like the majority of the top section of the site is getting completed over here on Epidence's side. It does look like he is going with the whole nav on the bottom look. Now, that's not to say he's going to switch it up on us and throw it at the top, you know, by making it a position absolute, for example, and doing top 0. He could do that. There's so many different ways we could go about it here. It all depends on how Epidence is feeling. Let's take a look at red team now. If we look at red team, it does look a bit simpler at first glance, but there's definitely a lot going on here in the code. There's a lot of properties that have been added. I think they're about equal. In fact, I would even go as far as saying that Gavin has a bit more properties than Epidence, so that's something to note. So we have a different style of navigation on the red team. It looks like they're going with the whole logo on the left and navigation on the same line, sharing the same line. That's completely fine. I think it's cool that you can see that you could get a completely different look with the same HTML but different CSS. Man, this song. Alright, so a couple people in here showing off their dev bits. Oh man. Oh man. So Bo has 4,006 dev bits, Who has more than Bo? Let's find out in the chat. So that was blue and red. Let's get back over to their code and see what has changed. So earlier we saw Epidence. He added this selector of pretty much targeting everything that is not the logo ID inside of the page ID. And so he's giving all of that a border radius based on the padding and all that. It looks like he's going to make those links look like buttons, because why else would he add border radius to it? It does look like he is going with the button look, so that's super cool. And he did make the background white, which I don't know, he might keep it that way, he might change it. The main priority for Epidence at the moment is he probably wants to just make sure he knows, you know, where the divs are exactly. So I mean, that's what he's styling at the moment. We don't see anything else here. Okay, he is currently adding some more selectors, and they are a bit specific. We're targeting the anchor tag that's within the div that's within the page ID, so, and he's giving that a different color and all that stuff. And essentially what that is he's targeting the anchor tag. Now, something you should know about anchor tags is he couldn't have simply added the color attribute, or property rather, on this selector right here that I'm highlighting, because the anchor tag will overwrite the color that he assigned in that selector. So that is something cool to know. It does look like he got rid of that not selector, so that's interesting. Let's take a look over now over to the red team. So let's see what they're working on. It looks like they currently have their selector right there on the main picture ID, and that is essentially the hero. If you look at the layout and you really study it and think about it, the main picture is pretty much where the hero is supposed to go. Now, that's not to mention that they can switch it up, of course. They can always change it up all they want. We do have a anchor hover selector. I'm gonna skip this song. Come on, Twitch. Why would you allow such a song, man? But yeah, so it looks like we added a background image on that main picture already. Just basing off the URL, it looks like he is going with someone holding a laptop. We won't know until we actually refresh the site and check it out. I'll probably look at both Blue and Red's website right after I study his code a bit more. So we have that background size cover and background position center properties on there. So that tells me that by the time we take a look at his site, it should look pretty much good to go. We should be able to see that image, no problem. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's take a look at the Blue Team's website. So you can see Epidence has made progress. These do look more like buttons now, and he even added a hover effect. And he also was able to throw that transition in there so it doesn't change automatically, it kind of fades into that bluish color. What I'm thinking is going to happen is he's probably going to begin styling the actual color of that anchor tag here shortly. But if you guys probably can't notice, but we do have a slight bit of box shadow on these buttons as well, so that's pretty cool. It gives it a little bit of depth. This is where the logo is supposed to go, actually, so I'm curious to see how Epidence tackles that in particular, because currently it is adapting all the styles that these are adapting. So we did see earlier he did have that not selector, so he targeted everything that is not the logo, and I believe that that would have gave him more freedom as far as, you know, gathering pre-existing styles from something else. But we'll see what he's gonna cook up here. As for the rest of the site, obviously there isn't much styled here just yet, so we're just gonna forget about it at the moment. Let's take a look at the red team. Alright, so we're tuning in right here on the red team's website. It does look like their logo, well, their navigation rather, looks a bit more fresh compared to last time. It looks more clean. I think personally he could probably add more spacing between these links. They do look a bit close, but I'm not to judge here. There is also supposed to be text here. We're not seeing it. I'm going to go ahead and go over to the inspect element real quick here. Let's see what's going on. So if I were to inspect this element and look at the header title, you know what? He might not have a font size attached to this. Let's go. Let's add a font size of 81 pixels and add a color of maybe red, I guess. Okay, so hang on. Yeah, I wonder what he's done here. It's in there. In the HTML, we have the, we'll have to take a look at his code to see what he has done, but in the HTML, we do have header tags that are supposed to go in the hero. So we're going to take a look at that after we get back over to the code. Alright, so we are now looking at the code. Let's start over here on the blue team. Let's see what they're working on at the moment. You can see Epinence is just going super ham, and he is currently targeting, last I saw that main picture, he's given it a background of tomato. For those of you who don't know, if you do use background red as a placeholder, it's always good to replace that with tomato instead. It just kind of gives it, I know it's temporary, but it does give it a better look for now. We're using a display table on that main picture. I think we don't see that very often, so I think that's super cool that Epinence is taking advantage of that property in particular. He is also targeting that logo ID now specifically through his CSS. And let's see if he's overwriting any styles. Yeah, he's overwriting some styles. For example, we did apply display inline block on everything that is a div, and we know that based off the HTML that a logo is a div as well. So he's just simply overwriting it using CSS, so that's pretty cool. And it does look like he did add an image of the logo in there, so that's pretty cool as well. We'll probably check it out the moment we finish. Oh, I accidentally added the letter A into his code. GG. Let's go ahead and take a look at now at the red team, see what they're working on. They have a lot of code, just like Epinence. I think this is a super close matchup. So see where Gavin is currently working. I want you guys to take a look at this. So Gavin here utilized pseudo elements in his CSS in order to add more HTML to the DOM. That is a super cool trick to note, that you can in fact add HTML into your DOM by using pseudo elements in your CSS. So and actually, with that being said, it looks like Epinence is working on the same deal in his code. We can see that he's probably going to add either a before or after pseudo on this div here shortly. That's only suggested because he has that content property added. Alright, so as far as Gavin is concerned on the red team, it looks like since he added that pretty design on the header title, essentially what's going to happen is okay, so if you look at the HTML, and we did this on purpose, you know, we didn't want to add, obviously it's blank, so how are you supposed to add text in there when you're not able to touch the HTML? Well, that's how you do it. And essentially what he's doing is he's adding pretty design text in place of that header title. So super cool. Let's see what else Red is working on. We can actually see his selector right here on that button hover. So it looks like the picture, which I'm trying to find the class of picture. Okay, so this entire div right here, he's making it so that there is a hover effect, and we don't see that on blue team, but I'm actually, let's go ahead and take a look at their websites right now, because I really want to see what that hover effect is going to look like. Alright, so let's look at the blue team right now. So this is the blue team's website that we are currently looking at. Right off the bat, you can see that they have a logo beautifully centered there. It looks great. They have a pretty Epinence currently has a pretty random background. I mean, every time I refresh, it is a placeholder image. I'd imagine that he is going to replace that here shortly with maybe something, you know, specific, but you know, nothing's to say at this point. He could very well want it to be that way. But anyways, we do have these buttons, and it does look like he styled it the way he wants. I think it looks phenomenal. We have this picture div right here. It is using the tomato color. I personally know Epinence a little bit to know that he might not keep it as tomato, the color, so that might be temporary. He might, it does look like, I mean, this entire div section right here is a bit unstyled in general, so we can conclude with the fact that he's currently working on that at the moment. Let's take a look at the red team's website. I am going to refresh it. Okay, so you can see that that Gavin has a very interesting design look here. It looks nearly perfect, other than the fact that obviously the buttons aren't on the same line. Let's go ahead and see why that is. I'm going to go ahead and target the okay, so he is using, let me go ahead and try something here. Okay, so essentially what's happening here is he has a very small width on this parent container, and it's dropping the it's pretty much dropping the button on its own line. It's not a display block, so that's not why it's on its own line, but as soon as I remove that margin, it pretty much, you know, went on its own line, so that's super cool. So I think I'm gonna refresh and see if he's changed anything. Not yet. Check this out. It looks like red team is going with a sidebar look, and that is completely up to them to go with that look. Let's see what blue team does. You know, both teams are in complete control over how they want their layout to look, you know, if they know enough CSS to make it happen. So it looks like, again, red team is going to place their quote box over to the right. Alright, let's go back over to the code now. Alright, so we are back at the code screen. I want to mention here quickly that we are currently looking for a Java developer. So if you know Java very well and you want to be a part of the DevWars team, please go over to our website and fill out that contact form and let us know, you know, what your experience is, and even send us a link to your portfolio so that we could check it out, because we are currently looking for a Java developer. I'm gonna skip this song though. Alright, yeah, because our website is coded out of Java in the back end. Alright, so let's take a look and see what Epinence is doing. We can see through his CSS that he only has 5 selectors left to fill. Now, that doesn't mean he can add more, of course, but the way Epinence did it was that he went through the entire HTML page and he added all the, I guess, parent elements or selectors into his CSS. Basically, he added everything that is important, and so I think he's getting really close to adding details, and we have 34 minutes left on the clock. Given both Epinence and Gavin's experience, I would say that this is going to be a very close game. This is more than enough time for them to, accomplish the website the way they want it to look. So let's see where Epinence is currently at right now. I can kind of scroll up and down and try to find his cursor. Okay, it looks like his cursor is right here, right there on that picture button. So if we look over here at the DOM, or the HTML document rather, these are the buttons right here that I am highlighting right there. That is what he is styling. So he did give it a padding and a background of white, so that means a very similar style from his navigations, other than the fact that his navigation links have a border radius attached to it. It's probably the only thing I could see. Actually, another thing is that he doesn't have any hover effects just yet on that button. So we might see that here shortly. What about the red team? What are they working on? Looking for their cursor. Here it is. So he is currently working, and Gavin on the red team, he is currently working on that background color property inside of that content title after pseudo. So the only way to really visualize what is happening there is to actually look at the website, but we're always going to start with the blue team first, so let's look at the website. So looking here at the blue team's website, you can see that everything from the header looks pretty much the same. However, the picture div that we see here, I would call it the hero. This is styled differently, and I think it's very nice that he went with the blue background because it complements the logo colors that he has here. You can see that he has a blue and white and a bit of a gray in that logo as well, so it would be very nice for the rest of the site to complement those colors, and it looks like Epinence is doing a fantastic job of considering all those things. So all this that I'm highlighting on the website is still yet to be styled. We're probably going to see that happen here shortly. How about the red team? Let's go ahead and take a look at them. So Gavin, a lot of progress has been made. You can see right off the bat that the buttons are perfectly centered now. There is no more conflict in the CSS where they were on their own line and such. I think it looks great. The header does have little hover effects. They're very subtle, but they do have hover effects. I think they even have a transition on them. Unless I'm tripping. Let's go ahead and see. Yeah, I'm tripping. Okay. It's so subtle that it almost looks like a transition to me, so. But anyways, it looks like Red Team did begin styling their articles, and it looks like they're going with that whole underline of look, and I think that's what we were looking at, that whole after pseudo, that content title class. Remember we were looking at before we actually switched the views. It looks like he is using an after pseudo to make that line happen, because that is not a border bottom. If I am, yeah, that is an after pseudo right there. I can confirm that right now through the inspect element. He is using that instead of border bottom. Let's get back over to the code now. Now, before I review what has changed in the code, I would like to add that for our viewers, we do provide all kinds of awesome tools to enhance your viewing experience during the game. And it looks like we're halfway through this game, but you can take a look at the code that I'm viewing right here. But of course, however you want, whenever you want, And the same goes for the website, so you could type watch red or watch blue in the chat. All commands have to be followed by an exclamation point. Yeah, so make sure you do that in order for it to register as a command, and then the bot will spit out the link for you to use. So I think you should definitely take advantage of that. So let's see what blue team is working on at the moment. So Epinence is currently adding properties over to that content text class. And in case you were wondering where that is, I'm going to highlight that inside of the HTML document. That is what he is targeting, that entire div right there. And that's pretty much where all the text is. And if we look at the CSS, all he's doing really is some very basic stuff. I mean, he's given it a specific font size. He's adding a margin bottom, and what that'll do is that'll separate each article from each other a little bit. It'll give some breathing room between them. And he's also adding an nth child of 2. I'm curious. He might add a... Let's see what he does here. So essentially what he's doing is he's targeting with that selector this element that I'm highlighting right there. So that's what Epinence is targeting. Oh, he switched it up on me. Now he is targeting this one. And there is many ways to target that specific element. He could have very easily said content text nth of type, or yeah, nth of type 3, or he could have said last of type or last child. That would have worked as well. And I mean, that's the beautiful thing about CSS, is there's so many different ways to accomplish a specific goal, and you guys can see, I think blue and red stands as a perfect testimony to that fact. But anyways, he is giving that specific div right here a different width. So I'm super curious to see what that's going to actually look like. You know, that's a bit different. What I was thinking Epinence was going for was, I thought originally, since he had that nth child of 2, I thought he was going to give it a different color background to kind of segregate it a little bit, make it easier on the eyes, but it doesn't look like he went for that route. Let's go ahead and look at the red team now. We did catch Gavin there highlighting and deleting actually quite a bit of code there. You know, I mean, they have a lot of time to spare. There's 27 minutes left on the clock, and you know, that's a lot of time given the fact that they've already styled the majority of the site. Mods, please remind both blue and red that they are going to be scored on responsive design, so make sure that they do add their media queries into their documents. Alright, let's take a look at blue team. Their code right here, they are being a bit specific now. So Epinence is targeting the nth child 3, but he's targeting the before pseudo of that, and he's also targeting the nth child of 3 as well. So he's applying the same properties to both of those selectors. So, given the properties that Epinence added here, well, first off, if we look at that content property, it doesn't look like he's looking for any use of adding actual text to the website. It looks like he just needs that after pseudo or before pseudo to and he's changing it up on me right now. Okay, he is still using a before pseudo element, so based off of his element here, it looks like he's not too concerned about adding text to the DOM, but elements. So, and also he is using the display inline properties, so that means he is looking for all of these items here in his selector to be on the same line. This is probably the most longest selector that we have currently in the game at the moment. And you can get as specific as you want as long as you know what you're doing, and if you're looking for something super specific, obviously. Let's take a look at the red team now. Red team, Gavin, where is he at? Okay, he is currently, his selector is at the end of this closing bracket for that content box class. he is using EM units for that max width. I think that's a bit creative of him, as long as he knows what he's doing. EM is very similar to percentage for those of you who are maybe too intimidated to explore that unit. I think you should check it out. I think rem is something that you should definitely explore for your font size, for sure, because that way you have kind of a global font size structure. Let's take a look at the websites now. It's been a while since we checked them out. Let's take a look at the blue team's website. So Epinence, everything from the picture class and up that I'm highlighting, it looks the same. If we scroll down, it does look like he did style that article a bit more, which is super cool. However, down here, this is the nth child that we saw earlier. That's the nth child of 3. And this bit here is, I was wondering at first, like, what is he going to do with that 70%, 75% width? And now we can see Epinence is definitely adding a lot of creativity inside of his styles to think of this. I think that's super awesome. And of course down here we can see that Epinence hasn't got around to styling that last bit of text, and what I'm currently highlighting here is the footer as well as the quote box. So that's what that is. Alright, I think we definitely checked out the blue team. What about the red team? Alright, so this is the red team's website. Everything, again, the same as the blue team. I mean, it looks the same from here on up. But everything down here, I would have to say that Epinence definitely has more on top of Gavin as far as everything from the content box to the footer. Down here, I think the most amount of styles that we see that are evident is the actual title of an article, this bit right here. I think that's the most obvious thing to note. Let's take a look at the full game now. Alright, so I just want to give a friendly reminder now that we're back at the code that you guys can definitely take advantage of some of our commands that we have available to you on this channel, such as live code, watch red and watch blue. All those commands will help enhance your viewing experience, and you are pretty much able to view the website whenever you want, the live website, and refresh as much as you want. Also, same with the live code, you could scroll up and down wherever you want to actually look at. So doesn't look like either teams have added, media queries into their code just yet. I want to make sure that my mods confirm to me right now that they have reminded both blue and red that they are supposed to add their media queries in order to qualify for the functionality votes, because we are going to be voting on their mobile responsive design. And we're going to be using Google Chrome's mobile viewer, the toggle device mode in the inspect element section. So we'll see. Alright, let's see what Epinence is working on at the moment. It does look like what I'm noticing right off the bat really quickly here is that Epinence did add the footer selector, which all that means to me is that he pretty much added all the selectors that he needs on all the major selectors onto his CSS. So now all he has to worry about is filling each of those selectors with properties. So also, we do have another DevWars game right after this. It is going to be a 3v3 as opposed to a 1v1. So if you're interested in playing, we are currently looking for HTML players. So we need 2 HTML players. If you're interested in playing, head on over to devwars.tv. Create an account if you don't already have one. Go over to the game section on the header, and you can actually apply for the classic game. And make sure that you do that right away, because your spot might be filled by the time we start that second game. So, and HTML is quite a simple. I would maybe label it as a entry-level position if you're interested in playing DevWars, but you're a bit, nervous, which is common. It's common to be nervous, especially with the pressure of the time and the fact that you're playing with other players that you've never met before, most likely. Anyways, over here on Epinence is code right here. We are styling that inner box inside of that quote box. Now, the reason why he's doing that specifically is because if you look, I'm going to highlight on the HTML, we do have that inner box here, and we also have it here. So the reason why Epinence is doing this is because he might not want the styles that he is typing in here to be applied up here. And actually, take a look at that. He did add another element inside of his selector, so that is the span. And personally, I think that is a bit too specific. He could have very easily done the same thing without the inner box class right there. For example, he could have very easily removed that and it would have done the same thing. Given the fact that the HTML content isn't going to change for the remainder of the game, I think he's safe to remove that. I want to ask right now the viewers, for those of you who actually betted towards blue or red, how are you feeling right now? Do you feel pretty good about your bet at the moment, or do you feel a bit worried? Let me know in the chat so we can find out, what's going on with your dev bits. Alright, red team now. Alright, so red team, Gavin, where is he at the moment? He might be currently checking out that HTML. He is allowed to highlight and stuff in the HTML. I see his selector right there. I found him. He was trying to hide from me. But, yeah, we'll see. I want to note that Epinence has a perfect win ratio. He's never lost the game at all. And CSS in the hands of Epinence has always worked out. In fact, he is a living, breathing testimony to getting a job because of DevWars. So I think that's a huge feat for DevWars. We definitely want DevWars to be a place where people can look for developers, to hire. So there is a good chance that if you are wanting to play on DevWars and you do an awesome job, that you might be looked at by an employer who is looking to hire, and you might even get contacted directly. So, good stuff to know. Good stuff to know. Looks like we have 16 minutes left on the clock. Technically 17 more minutes if we round up here. So, not very much time. It doesn't look like we have any media queries just yet, but, it doesn't really take much time to actually add those media queries for sure. Alright, so make sure you guys use those commands for watch red and watch blue and live code and stuff. I'm gonna be right back really shortly here. It is time for the puppy cam, so you know what that means. Hashtag puppy cam. Some of you guys know her name already. That is right, Nami, and hopefully she's a bit more responsive today. Nami, say what's up. Say what's up, man. Come on, don't be shy. She's like, she was just born like 8 weeks ago, so she doesn't know what that means. She doesn't understand me right now. But Nami, look at the camera. Come on, be normal, please, please, right now. Come on. Look at the viewers. They're all happy right now. Oh, look at you. You're so funny. But yeah, so her name is Nami. She is named after a League of Legends character. The dog does not hate me. She loves me. Look, it's just because I woke her up from her nap. But, I mean, huskies are super wild. They need energy, so she shouldn't even be napping in the first place. But anyways, yeah, she loves me. She loves me so much. She just knows that there's a lot of viewers right now. She's just nervous, that's all. Like, you know, I mean, I'm sure you guys would be nervous if I stuck you in front of the webcam. But yeah, so, oh, Nami, please, stop doing that. You're making me nervous. Alright, well, I'll have her wander around the office. She's not allowed to wander around the office, but that's fine. Oh, she left. She left the office. Actually, I have to get her right now. So I'll be right back. Oh my gosh, that dog. She has stage fright. Let's see what Epidence is doing. Actually, instead of reviewing the code, let's go ahead and actually look at the website itself. I'm sure you guys are more interested in the visuals. So on his website, again, it looks quite the same as we've seen before. No, I don't see anything different. One thing I do want to point out, though, is this get to know us bit. That was not added in the HTML. Epidence added that himself through pseudo elements. So I'm going to actually bring this up right here. I have that highlighted so you can see that that get to know us is added through that content property. So that's how he did it. And down here, it does look like he did spend a little more time on that, on the article section. I think it looks a lot nicer. And then down here, we have all this stuff. Also, another thing I really want to point out here is that you guys can see that we have these quotes added over here, and we also have it added here. And now, if you look at the HTML, now you can't see it at the moment, but if you do look at the HTML, we don't actually have those quotes there, and he's also accomplishing that through those pseudo elements as well. So yeah. Let's take a look at the oh, sorry, this is the blue team site. I don't know why it's tripping out. There we go. We're looking at the blue team site, not the red team site. Now we're looking at the red team site. The red team site, here it is. Okay. One of the things I want to point out here is that we have 10 minutes left on the clock, as you guys can see. However, a lot of this text looks like a wall right here. Like, if we're being perfectly honest here, I think Gavin should focus a lot of his time here, because to anybody, not just me, I think this just looks like a wall of text. he's going to have to add some separation or something in order to make it seem, you know, a bit segregated instead of this. But we do see down here he does have a nice quote box section. I think this looks nice. I think that was a great touch by giving it a darker, like a grayish color background, and it really separates from this body right here that we see over here. Great job, and that's the footer right there. He does need to give that a different color in order for that to stand out. We'll see what he does. We're going to go back over to the code right now. Alright, so 9 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock. Potato just said that he watched Season 1 on YouTube throughout this week. Hand clap to Potato for doing that. That's super cool. He's one of our biggest fans, obviously. Like, who else would watch all of Season 1? That's not even all of Season 1, too. We are still trying to upload those Season 1 videos. There's still a bit more, as well as a Valentine's Day special that we're meaning to upload. It's just, man, the internet speed, it takes like more than a day to upload more than 15 gigabytes worth of information. It's pretty ridiculous. It's insane. We have more people right now mentioning that they have watched Season 1 on YouTube. I think this is a perfect opportunity to mention that we do have a YouTube channel, and you can watch our past episodes from Season 1 if you're interested in where DevWars started. You know, we did start last year, and all of our past videos are on youtube.com/DevWars, so please check that out. 8 minutes left on the clock. Let's see what Epidence is working on at the moment here. One moment. Alright. So let's find Epidence's cursor. That is my #1 priority at the moment. I mean, just scrolling through here a little bit, you can see that he has a crap ton of properties, like 207 lines of properties. I think at this moment, I think it would be probably a great idea for Epidence to start adding his media queries, because at the moment he has 0, and that is going to be something he is going to need in order to qualify for that functionality portion. However, from the looks of it, I mean, just by scrolling up and down here, it looks like he may even be planning to just finish, you know, the overall look of the site and then move on to that media query section. I mean, it doesn't take 7 minutes to do that, for sure. But if we look on the red team, we kind of see a similar situation here. I mean, they haven't added their media queries either, so it's not like Epidence has to be super concerned that, you know, for example, that Gavin has added a bunch of media queries, whereas Epidence hasn't. 6 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. Hashtag hype train. I think right now, you guys should be aware that we have 2 HTML positions open. These are super easy positions to fill, I would think. So if you want to play in the next DevWars right after this, it is going to be a 3v3. You are going to need a microphone, and you are going to need to be able to tune on to TeamSpeak. If you're able to do all those things and you know HTML in and out, I think this is a great opportunity for you to have your spotlight on DevWars with 2 other teammates. So if you want to play in HTML, go ahead and sign up on our website by going to devwars.tv. Make sure you create an account if you don't already have one. Go over to our games page and fill out the application for the classic game mode. That's what it is. Classic game mode. And that's what it is. Anyways, let's see what Gavin is working on. Man, he has a lot of code. I think right now I'm very curious to know at this point in time, who do you think's gonna win? I mean, I know that we had a betting session that was open. A lot of you guys have betted your dev bits towards either blue or red. How are you feeling at the moment? Are you regretting your decision? Are you feeling good about your decision? Do you think you're going to get super rich? Let us know in the chat. So again, I'm scrolling up and down on that red team, trying to find where his cursor is. I think that's his cursor right up there. You know, he hasn't added anything there. I mean, he's just kind of up there at the top of the document. It doesn't mean very much. We're going to go ahead and look at the code. How about that? We're going to look at the code, and this is going to be the last time we're going to look at it. Alright, so I'm going to refresh the website. This is super cool. I mean, it's super subtle, but it's enough for me to notice right off the bat. So you can see that there is a super sexy drop shadow on this header. And I gotta tell you, man, it's sexy. Like, I admire that. It's so subtle. It's just glorious. Look at that. Can you guys see it from the screen? Like, look at that. It looks like Google has, you know, added, you know, drop shadows quite often to their, you know, overall style. I mean, we did see the whole. I'm gonna skip this song. We did see drop shadows kind of abandoned, you know, for a while, and then Google brought it back. Shout out to Google. You know, Google brought it back. And it looks hot. I mean, I think it looks fresh. It doesn't look overdone, you know. And I think the reason why is because Google, you know, they're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna use drop shadows, but we're gonna use it carefully. You know, they didn't just throw drop shadows wherever they wanted to. They added it where it made sense, and they also made it subtle. They even did all kinds of different studies on the angle of their material design and stuff. It's pretty crazy. If we scroll down here, you can see that Blue Team is accepting Bitcoin. If you don't understand this terminology right here, you have to watch Season 1. You have to go to youtube.com/DevWars and watch everything. Like, that's the only way you're going to understand what's happening right now. Like, you have no idea what level Epinence is on right now. And then we have this this sexy quote right here. It says, "Man, the website you designed for me is too strong. It's just too strong." All right, we're gonna take a look at the red team now. We've been watching the blue team for quite some time now. All right, you know, just right off that immediate load there, you can see there isn't really too much differently here on the red team. But if we scroll down a little bit, you can see there is definitely some different stuff here. One of the biggest things, obviously, is that we have an image, and we have that we have these paragraphs kind of positioned to the left, and then the next one positioned to the right, and the last one positioned to the left. And you know, I did talk about earlier, you know, that there is a bit of a problem with the whole wall of text deal, but it looks like that, you know, that's a great way of solving it by, you know, shifting it in such a way. Alright, anyways, I'm going to go back over to the code, and all we're going to do from here on is just study what they're doing. Hopefully they are adding their media queries. I don't see any media queries on either teams. I think mods, you should let them know. Like, we have literally a minute and 25 seconds left on the clock. They should totally add some media queries, or else really there's no way to vote on functionality. I mean, that's what we're looking for, is media queries. So if I were blue and red, I'd totally drop what they're doing right now and just focus completely on those media queries, because we have a minute left on the clock. Mods, let them know that there is a minute left on the clock. We're gonna take a look. I was gonna say check a look, but we're gonna take a look at what blue team has. Okay, I'm catching Epinence in his works right now. He is working on that body element. Okay, he's adding a subtle pattern throughout the site. I think that's super cool. I mean, he did add that background repeat just to be sure, but by default your background should repeat, but I think he was just wanting to make sure that that worked. it wouldn't have took him that much time. Alright guys, 15 seconds left on the clock. I'm going to do a 10-second countdown. Here we go. Get ready. Up in here, mods, countdown with me. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. GG, boys and girls. GG. GG. Oh man. Oh man. I think this is going to be a very interesting game. If there is no one moment. I'm going to message my mods real quick. I have a question for one of my mods. While I'm messaging my mod, please review the website in your own browser by typing watch red or watch blue in the chat. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to review Blue Team's website. Now what I want you guys to know is that both Blue and Red are completely shut out of their documents, so they're not able to make any edits at this point. Alright, so how this is going to work is I'm going to go ahead and review Blue Team's website, and then I'm going to review Red Team's website, and then we're going to vote on design. So I'm going to start everything from the Blue Team. Make sure you pay attention very closely. So on the Blue Team, we have this logo right, perfectly centered right here, and this is the header, and then we have the navigation thrown down here, and we do have hover effects right here. When you hover over it, this is what it looks. We have transitions there as well. It looks beautiful. And we have this very subtle drop shadow on this header to give it some depth on the DOM. I think it looks great. We have this get to know us hero section, and when you hover over it, we get a bit of a darker drop shadow. I think that's super cool. Down here, you can notice that we've added a body background pattern throughout the website. You can see it's just repeating. This was done last minute by Epinance. You can it's very subtle. I think it definitely added to the website. You can see that we have this body of text here, and then we have a body of text here, and then on this one, Epinance went ahead and added quotes on the before and after of the actual text. It looks good. And then we have text here, and then last but not least, we have the quote for I just noticed Epinance added some more text there. Epinance is a goddamn arrogant, but damn is he good. I don't think Matthew said that. I think you fed some words into his mouth there, Epinance, but I think that's cool. Down here, we are accepting Bitcoin. Again, if you don't know what that's all about, you have to watch Season 1 in order to really understand what kind of level Epinance is on right now. Other than that, that is the Blue Team's website. We did review it completely. Let's take a look at the Red Team's website now. I did refresh it. So, Red Team's website, we have this really interesting logo here. I don't know what this logo is of, but it's very cool. When you hover over these, it's so subtle, you might not be able to tell, but it is indeed changing colors. It's a bit darker than the blue that it originally is. And when you hover over these, it's definitely more noticeable that, you're having a different color change here. And he did add transition here, so it's not just instantly changing. Obviously, Red Team went with the navigation at the top as opposed to, the middle, like between the header and the hero. I think this is a super cool way of seeing how two teams took a different approach on the same HTML content. And then down here we see that red team went with adding images to the left or right part of the paragraph. You can see they did that here. It does make it look a lot better than it did before. If you remember, it did look like just a wall of text, but I think red team did a good job of making it look a little bit, different. And then down here at the very bottom, we see this quote box. They did give it a dark background, a little bit of a grayish color on the background to separate it. I think that's good. But, I mean, down here, it does look like the red team is sharing the same color as the background here. I mean, you can't see it, but, I mean, other than that, we did review both blue and red. Let's go ahead and start the vote for design. So, the design is going to be up here. In order to vote, all you have to do is type blue or red in the chat. Make sure you follow that up with an exclamation point in front of your vote. So type exclamation point blue or exclamation point red just to be just to make sure you guys are on the same page as me. Alright, so votes are coming in. A lot for the blue team at the moment. We have 16 votes on the blue team. If you guys watch the vote very carefully, you can notice that we have a very strategic system here, or not strategic, but unique system where the maximum number of points you can earn in the design phase or any voting phase, to be clear, is 2 points. And if it's below that threshold, you can see that there is like 2 little lines, and that is the threshold I am referring to. If it is below that threshold, if it's in the center, then both points are going to be distributed evenly, and that's going to give them essentially a tie. Now what blue team is going to have to shoot for is to break that threshold and get those 2 points. One thing to notice is that the blue team did not necessarily follow the theme, and that might be something to consider through the design, is that they didn't follow the design, the theme, which was web design firm or web design company. We're looking at the blue team's website. Alright, it looks like we got 20 seconds left to vote. The voting is over. It was super close on the blue and red team. It looks like it is a tie. Blue definitely got more votes, but it was super close. They did have to crush that threshold in order to gain that extra point. One moment here. Alright guys, we know through the code that none of these guys have actually added media queries, so we're going to have to vote on functionality. And now, the best way to understand how we're voting on functionality in this particular case is how well they coded their website. So we're going to start off with the blue team. I'm going to review their sites before we can actually vote. Let's go ahead and see what the website looks like in a different view. Let's go ahead and select Apple iPhone 6, and that is what we have. So this is what Epinet's website looks like on the iPhone 6 through Google Chrome. And you can see it doesn't look that bad. I mean, you can see that the website is fully contained into the website. I mean, there's not too much to see here. Again, there is not media queries, but we can still vote on functionality because what's it called? They're relying on what we call responsive design, and that's it depends on what kind of properties they've added to consider things like other browser resolutions. So again, I did refresh the blue team's website, and we see that everything's on the page. It looks like it's looking good. We're gonna take a look at the red team's website now. And we're going to look at the mobile view, and we're going to look at iPhone 6, and we're going to refresh the page. I mean, same deal here. The only thing I can point out here is that Gavin's website on the red team, it looks like he has a bit of a white space added to the very right side of the website. I'm just pointing out every positive and every negative. We're going to throw up the functionality right now, so please vote either blue and red on functionality. The best way to see, you know, which team is super functional is to really check out these websites for yourself in your own browser, because you might be able to resize it in a different resolution that I wasn't able to resize it on the stream, and you might find something that was a bit off then again that I didn't find, and so please vote on that. So it's either blue or red, boys. Coca-Cola, boys. I'm not sponsoring them at all. I could care less if you guys buy Coca-Cola right now, to be honest. But it is pretty good. Oh, man. Alright, it looks like we have a crap ton of votes over here on the blue team right now, like a lot. By the way, if you guys are currently watching the stream right now and you aren't watching, you know, with a Twitch account, if you don't have a Twitch account, I recommend you create one right now. I mean, it only takes like 1 second, really, and you can participate in the voting category, and you can also, you know, participate in the chat and bet with your dev bits and earn dev bits. So many perks to having a Twitch account. So, yes. All right. So, I mean, I think it's clear. Okay, so voting is over. It looks like blue team did, you know, snag up those extra points there. That does break the tie. Both teams did not have media queries. I mean, if red team would have added a little bit of media queries to their website, I think that would have instantly changed the entire game there. I know that since Epinance and Gavin both didn't have media queries, I think Epinance was lucky in the fact that he did not have that extra bit of white space on the right side of his website. I think that's what a lot of people were considering when they were, you know, voting on the websites. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and go over to the score screen. You can see the total score here. It is 3-1. Congratulations, blue team. Epinance, congratulations for winning in the Zen Garden game mode. Gavin, you did a fantastic job as well.